now it's Kokomi's time to shine. Just look at that. Boom, 300k. And boom, another 300k. Alright, so what is happening? How are we doing so much damage? Well, today's video is actually inspired by a talk from Jello Impact, and he basically said something which activated my trap card. So have a listen.
Sucrose is. Sucrose is a good character, but it's kind of hard to use her in this abyss because grouping is so important.
Right, so everything he just said about Sucrose is actually pretty accurate, but if you know me, I'm one of those Genshin players that plays in a hidden corner where the content creator's gaze does not fall, and hence I love using a bit of unorthodox techniques. So as you can see here in the background, I'm juggling the enemy with Kokomi, and boom, there they take a bit of fall damage. Actually, correction, they can take a lot of fall damage. It all just depends on how you play, and the secret to this is Sucrose. You see, when you use Sucrose by herself, nothing's gonna happen. But the combination of Sucrose's Elemental Burst and Kokomi, that is just going to make things so much more powerful. Now, you can use optionally Yaimiko because her totems will also hit enemies in the air and keep them juggled, so the three of them really work well together, and you can also use little Klee here to disrupt enemies, although I wouldn't really count on it because it's a little bit less consistent. By the way, this little background footage, I just thought it would be funny to see the Mirror Maiden bounce in the ball. In any case, so this is a summary of the fall damage technique. You need to launch the enemies with Sucrose's burst. You need to use Kokomi's elemental burst because the projectile sizes are bigger than with her normal attacks. And if you've got Yaimiko, then she can actually assist in juggling the enemies, although there is a bit of a limit if you don't have C2 Yai, and even Kokomi herself can launch the enemies too far and then you'll lose the juggle. In any case, so this is the point where people are going to say, alright, but show us the abyss clears, because that's all that matters. Fine. Here are the builds, because people always ask for builds. So here I present to you the world's most stock standard of Klees. You'll not find any more stock standard Klee build than that. You'll find more optimal ones, but in any case, alright. Here's Yai, and then I'll just cycle through the rest. So before we begin, I just need to say that this team is incredibly difficult to play. I don't expect people to use this team. I don't expect people to find this team consistent enough. I can play this team very consistently, but I've been playing this team on this alt account of mine and on my main account for years now. So it's almost like, for me, it's like riding a bicycle. But I do just have to put out that warning. So basically, Jello Impact was 100% correct. Alright, so let us begin. So here are the enemies, so we're just going to quickly do a bit of an animation cancel there, just ensure that Sucrose is just long enough so we can get the Taze and the particles. Go here with Kokomi, because Kokomi does not crit, this allows us to actually gauge how much damage we're going to do, and we can then take out these two very, very evenly. I don't need to wait for Yaimiko's totems, because I want to set it up for the next wave. So this is, again, that part of how do you plan and so on. Here is me just playing a bit around with Sucrose, throwing the elemental burst, drawing in the Mirror Maiden so that Yai's totems can also hit her, going to the elemental burst, and look at that, I've launched her, 150k, and unfortunately my Kokomi got trapped by a bubble because the jellyfish was just slightly outside of the hitbox for that bubble. Yes, the jellyfish is pretty good at hitting the bubble. Yeah, you didn't think you'll get this kind of art review from me. Yes, I love art reviews, so this is what we're going to do. In any case, so we are just doing normal things, slipping out of the little cage with Yai. So lots of little small techniques that if you're aware of it, it just makes the game so much more fun. Hopefully you guys can rewatch this and see what I'm doing. Regardless, so here is the big moment. We're going to try and see if we can't catch both of these enemies. It's very difficult. You'll mostly be able to catch one of them at a time. So I caught this one, I immediately dashed to it, and there you go, 300k, boom, another 300k. So here is exactly as promised, despite the fact that the account UID is different. I'll explain that a bit later, but as promised in the beginning, you can do quite a bit of damage here with Kokomi, and honestly, you're going to need that damage because whilst I don't think it's impossible to just do or play the usual taser team, you're going to struggle to get enough damage off. So this fall damage technique is really valuable in that regard. Once again, as you can see, you're just using Sucrose on her own, not good enough. You need to actively launch the enemies. Yeah, Miko's Totem and Kokomi gonna help, and we're gonna do a bit more fall damage. So this is how you can bridge that DPS gap using this very advanced technique, owing due to the fact that we're not really utilizing our fourth party members, so we're effectively just playing a taser team. Yeah, unfortunately this is how this abyss turned out. You can use Nahida here and then you'll have like a solid Hyper Bloom core, but because of the enemy's resistances and stuff, and because Hoyo and their infinite wisdom decided to make this a pyro friendly abyss to the detriment of other elements, you were kind of forced to use Klee. I did try this with Nahida, but it's just a bit more difficult against Iniquitous Baptist to get a consistent clearing time, as well as against these other little lectors. Regardless, here's more fall damage fun. You can see these enemies are pretty easy to knock. These next two enemies are not that easy to knock, so there's nothing you can really do there except just play the classic Koko Taser. And I think at this point, whilst we're not going to launch enemies anymore, I must just say, look at that, you can use Yai to phase out of battle phase in. This is one of the things that makes her so good, that ability to space and phase. It's something I've talked quite a lot about on the channel, and it's just one of those techniques that will help you survive, despite the fact that we don't have a shield and that the team is squishy. Alright, I'm not going to bore you with these two lectors, because they literally bored me when I edited this video and thought yeah, I'm not going to show all of that, so I'll just show you the last couple of 16 seconds. Ironically enough, even though you might think Klee is useful here, doing a bit of a taser team actually with a combination of Klee turned out to be the best, although you have to have the enemies group. But just to show you, yeah, it's possible to do it with this team. Regardless, I think that is enough. If you want me to really post the Iniquitous Baptist whatever gameplay, I can also beat it with that team, got the 3 stars and whatever. So I'm just going to end off here with my C6 account. So I alluded to this earlier, but basically I've got 2 accounts in Genshin Impact. The one which is my main account, this is the one you can see right now, it's got C6 units, and the other one, which is the one I've predominantly shown, is the C0, or predominantly C0 account that I've also had since day one. And that is just the thing, I like having these 2 accounts because it does teach you what the differences are, what the different options are, and obviously for those of you that are new to the channel, this has been the bedrock of my content creation. I've got C0 and C6 evaluations of units, so it gives you a fair idea of what's happening in the game, how the power balance has shifted, how much power creep we've had, how much we still keep on trapping the Mirror Maiden. Sorry, that's never not funny. But yeah, so that's just why there's a discrepancy in the UIDs for people that are wondering. But regardless, so here you can see a bit more of a beefed up account, just very comfortably clearing all of this. So if you've got the constellations, if you've got the power, you don't need to do the juggle technique, although as you can see there, even at C6 it's quite fun to do so, and of course yeah, I can infinitely hit the enemies, so the clearing times are a lot faster. Regardless, that's it from my side. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little bit of secret synergy between Kokomi and Sucrose. I love it, and it's one of the more favorite things you can do than just playing these boring old circle impact. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.